Cougar Nation, welcome back to part 2 of 3 of our interview here with Maddie. Glad that you're here with us.
So happy to be here.
If you haven't watched part 1 yet, make sure to go back and watch that. It was really cool getting to know Maddie a little bit more in depth. So this one, we're going to talk a little bit more about your college career. Starting at UCF for 3 years. We talked about how COVID affected it, but then coming back, what was it like starting the season back up from COVID after having it taken away from you?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, we had so many rules that you had to follow. Like, you had to social distance. I think at first, like, we weren't even allowed to practice as a full team, and we were practicing outside with masks on. Like, it was insane. Sanitizing balls, like, it was nuts. It was definitely crazy, and pretty sure, like, most of our season, too, like, we had hardly any fans there. I remember our parents could buy cutout boards. So all my family members all bought like little cutout boards so that they were like there with us, but it was definitely really weird for sure.
And so fans started to slowly trickle back in. How do you feel like that helped your momentum as a team, and how do you feel like it helped you personally play the sport?
I mean, definitely having fans out there supporting you is a big difference, and I think especially with softball, like if you get that crowd going, like, and you're at home and stuff, you just feel it, and you're feeling it rock, and you just going off that momentum. So I think it's definitely a lot better to have those fans out there, yeah.
So, but fans can only get you so far. You said you're a big family person.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to just tell a little bit about the story of flying your brother out. I can't remember all of it. So that's what I'm asking you for. So, cause it's a really cool story, and so yeah. I just want to hear a little more about that.
Yeah. So we hosted regionals for the first time in program history at UCF, and we were in the semifinals. It was like bottom of the 7th. We were losing 1-2, I'm pretty sure, and my coach puts me in to hit, and I had a 2-2 count, 2 outs, runner on second, ended up driving a ball off the fence or something like that to score the tying run. Then the game got stretched out to 11 innings, and I ended up hitting a walk-off hit. And in a few of my interviews, just from people and making connections, a lot of people knew about my brother, Tanner, with Down syndrome. And one of the interviewers that knew about that asked me if I was thinking about him in that last at-bat that I walked off, and I said absolutely 100% I was. I even remember, like, very clearly, I'm like, just do it for him. Like, everything that I do it for him. Like, if I have an interview, know that I'm going to find some way to talk about him. You know, he doesn't get these opportunities that I'm blessed with, and I'm always going to take full advantage of these opportunities because of that. And he's always my biggest fan. Like, he'll text me before games like, oh, go hit a home run for me. And he's just an amazing dude. So when that interviewer asked me that, they posted it on Twitter. And not really thinking about it, I tweeted it out there to get him out there. Like, I just wanted him out there. My mom and grandma were out there. And I said, somebody get him out there. And these two women, Jan and Britt, Britt has Down syndrome, and she's like well known around UCF. She's like known as like the sister of the football players. Like, she is very well known. They kind of got the ball rolling for us, and it was really awesome because all the fans from UCF just kind of were like, how can we donate to get him out there? And the only way I was able to get the money was through an NIL deal that I did with the Sons of UCF. It's a podcast out there, and they were able to get me the money. They tried to get him out on an overnight flight there, and they just couldn't. Like, there's just no like one-way flights going through. So we ended up they said to just use the money to get him out to Norman, but my family was already going out to Norman, and they're like, we don't really need the money. So we ended up just donating it back to Britt and her fund that she has. But it was so cool when he was out in Norman, like, just to go up and know that he's out there. He got a lot of ESPN time. Like, when I was up to bat, I went and watched the games, and they were showing him all the time when I was up to bat. I'm like, they don't even got to show my at-bat. Like, just put him up there. And he's so funny. I was like, dude, like, you were all over ESPN. He's like, okay. Like, could care less. Like, he was just like, okay, and. But I'm like, dude, you're, like, famous. And he was like... So it was really cool, and, you know, he's just one of my, like, honestly, just the reason why I do everything I do. And, you know, one of my goals in life is just to be able to support him, and if he wants to live with me, I would love for him to live with me in the future, but he's got his heart set on getting his own apartment right now, so we'll see how that goes. But
how many games were your family able to go see when you were over at UCF?
That's the one thing that sucked about being so far from home, is they weren't able to go out all the time. We would make one trip every year out to California, so they'd go to all those games, but not a whole lot. Like, I mean, if it was like, they would come for the home opener and maybe like 1 or 2 games in between there, but it's so expensive to fly nowadays, and to take the entire family, like, that's gonna put a dent in the wallet. So my mom would come out like by herself, or my dad would come out, but it wasn't very often, and that was like one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to transfer, is I was like, I want to be able to play with my family out there, like, as much as they can. So
going from UCF to BYU, so you opened you went into the transfer portal. Was that your main reason to go in?
Yeah, that's number one on the board. Like, I'm just so family oriented. Like, my mom and dad like laugh at me all the time because I think I call them maybe at least once, more like 3 times a day. Like,
a day? I think you said a week.
No,
I was
a day. Like, no, I am constantly like on the phone with my mom, and my mom always gets mad because she's a hairdresser, and I'm like calling her nonstop. Like, I need to talk to you real quick. And she's like, dude, like, I'm working. I'm like, just put me on FaceTime right there, like, while you're sipping somebody's hair. Like, just put me on FaceTime real quick. And she'll put me on FaceTime, and I'll just ask, like, some stupid question. She's like, seriously, like, that was what you really need to get me to? And I was like, absolutely. Like, me and my parents have streaks on Snapchat. Like, when I tell you, like, my parents are, like, my best friend, like, they absolutely are, and, like, my number one supporter. So getting back
I'm going to streak
here.
with my dad.
Yeah, no shame to it, trust me.
I don't know, I show all my friends, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's my dad.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're my best friends. I'm like, I don't shame that at all. I'm right there with you, so.
Heck yeah. And so deciding to come to BYU over, like, say, ASU or U of A, what made you decide that?
Well, I wasn't, like, I'm not a member, so I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I just was like, that's gonna, like, I'm not a member. I don't know how well I'm gonna fit in here. So, it's kind of scared, honestly, coming on a visit and everything. But, like I said earlier, my old club coach I played, like, with for 8 to 10 years, he ended up getting the job this season for the assistant coach. He's like, just come out, like, just check things out, see how you like it. He's like, you might end up liking it a lot. And so BYU was the first visit I took. And if you ask Coach Eakin, halfway through the visit, I was persistent that I was going here. Like, I didn't take any other visits. I just completely fell in love with this school. Like, it's got everything you could ever want. I mean, and I absolutely love how family oriented it is. Like, they let me go surprise Tanner for his senior night for his football game, and I missed a day of practice, and they were more than willing to let me do that, and I would never been able to do that at my old school. So just knowing that they would support my family just as much as I support my family was a big deal to me. And they're great coaches. Like, these coaches care so much about us, and it's ridiculous. And we're spoiled here, spoiled rotten. Like, the Nike gear, oh my gosh. Like, when I first walked in here, they handed me like 6 pairs of cleats, and I'm like, what am I gonna use 6 pairs of cleats for? Like, this is insane. Like, the facilities in here are, like, nuts, and I just completely fell in love with it, fell in love with the culture. I mean, I don't know what else. Like, there's not to love.
What month did they bring you out?
What was that?
What month did they bring you over?
In June.
Okay, there it is. That's why.
right. It was actually really cold. It was, like, snowing in the mountains when I came out here, and I was like, what is going on? Like, it's June. But they were like, they told me that the winters weren't that bad.
This is like the worst winter we've had in a while.
That's what I keep hearing. I'm like, of course it's right when I get here. I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, I feel like it snows every single day. Right before, I think it was like the beginning of February, I was like, in my head, I jinxed it for sure. But in my head, I was like, dang, like, we got past all the snow. Like, it's been sunny for a few days. Then, boom, snow everywhere. And I feel like it snowed every single day. And I'm like, I can't get away from it. But I'm adapting to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely. It was so funny because right a couple months before I decided to transfer, UCF, I got rid of all my jackets. I kept a couple sweaters because I'm like, that's taking up so much space in my closet. And I didn't know I was going to transfer at the time, so I just went and donated a bunch of sweatshirts because I never used them. Now look at me. I had to go stock up. Yeah. I had to go stock up.
Spend too much money.
Yeah, I was like, well, that was stupid of me.
Well, let's get around on our second segment. I appreciate those stories. Those are really cool.
Yeah.
Cougar fans, be sure to stick around for our part 3 as we go into a little more about BYU and the season that you guys are having. But thanks for watching part 1, and make sure to go watch Thanks for watching part 2. Watch part 1 if you haven't already. Thanks. Thank you for watching this interview. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss the other 2 parts of this interview, plus all of our other interviews we do with BYU athletes. We also like to give a special thanks to our Cougar Board insiders for making this possible.